Oh, hello there. I almost didn't see you come in. I'm in preparation, of course, for the Christmas feast, which will include all sorts of games and merriment and tales of all sorts. You better come in close. We're about to start the second night of Christmas. Actually, the tale is called The Night Before Christmas, but as we all know, there are 12 nights of Christmas, and technically the first one starts on the 25th of December, but really, who's counting? Certainly not Netflix. Gather close as we go over the qualities that make up the best sort of Christmas rom-coms. I think you'll like what you hear. Before we get into talking about The Night Before Christmas, there's kind of a huge elephant in the room, as Baby V, Vanessa Hudgens herself, has kind of slipped her foot in her mouth, saying that she's never heard of any such problems with Woody Allen and that she would love to work with him and stuff. So it's not necessarily the best time, but it's Christmas. People voted for this movie, and I hate to say that I actually really enjoyed it for the most part. So I'm not ignoring that's a thing going on right now. But I am here to talk about that movie, which is separate from my opinions about her opinions. Okay, warning label off. It's up there, you get it. Alright, thank you. So, when you're talking about a movie like The Night Before Christmas, it's your basic time-traveling period piece. Person from an age, probably the medieval ages or some such time, comes to the future, stays with an amazing, hardworking cynic of some kind, and then falls in love progressively, changing the cynic's heart about love or whatever they're cynical about, probably love, and then promptly has to disappear because now they've taught you the true meaning of Christmas or something, and then, as rom-coms tend to do, comes back because he has also, or she has also learned what they have to do, and now you can have that wish fulfillment, and happily ever after happens, oftentimes in the past, although not necessarily. One or the other is going to have to give that up, that being their time period and all that they know, in order to be with the other. Personally speaking, the modern era has certain things that avail themselves to a good life that might not be available to those who want to live till they're potentially as old as 40 and die of the flu. But that's just me. In The Night Before Christmas, it's a cross between what you could expect from that sort of genre and, of course, your typical Hallmark Christmas movie, in that you get Vanessa Hudgens playing this beautiful, somewhat down-to-earth, maybe worldly a little bit, kind of high school teacher who's in this small town that is very dedicated to Christmas, is teaching life lessons, hither and thither, and meeting all kinds of quaint, beautiful, multicultural people in Ohio, and is getting over her own heartbreak, whenever that was, and has kind of steeled her heart so that she won't, ever fall for such games again, and is telling high school girls not to mess with boys and to just focus on the goals ahead. Don't worry about that sort of thing. Location-wise, we get this little cutesy Christmas town, and then we get the past, way, way in the past. 14th century England, the past. And then we get beautiful winter forests and a castle backdrop and knights, and then modern day It's a Christmas medieval village-ish Santa thing. The Meetcute happens after the night, otherwise known as Sir Cole. They had to know when they were naming him Circle. Circle? Circle. They had to know that was kind of like a pun, right? But what does it mean? Why circle? Because everything comes full circle? Because his name really is coal, like a lump of coal that naughty girls get for Christmas. So he runs into an old crone on a hunt, and the crone, as he continues to call her the whole movie, tells him that if you don't solve this thing before Christmas, if you don't figure out what your quest is and win it, then you'll never be a true knight. And she gives him this amulet, and then bam, he's in Ohio. And in Ohio, he is like somewhat stunned, although in my opinion, not quite as stunned as he could be for suddenly being in the future. He's kind of walking around their cutesy Christmas village like, huh, alright, like this is a weird village, and not really shocked. And wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, of course he bumps into Vanessa Hudgens holding hot chocolate. Also, I don't even know how that happened, because you see her leaving at one point, they walk right past each other, the next second he turns around and whacks right into her, but, you know, whatever. It's full circle, you know? Full circle.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
They have this cutesy, it was all my fault, don't worry about it kind of situation. And this is, by the way, just after Vanessa Hudgens' niece tells Santa and Mrs. Claus that what she wants most is to get her aunt a boyfriend. Also, right when things are happening, you kind of hear an evil laugh from Mrs. Claus. It's like, hee 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 hee. It's really funny. So when she spills hot chocolate all over him, he, instead of going like, ah, like, oh shit, or whatever, oh my god, what have you done? He goes like this, and he tries it like a crazy person and goes, what is this delicious mead? And it's kind of cute and absurd, but he does that the entire movie. He never calls hot chocolate. It is mead the whole time. I know it's supposed to be cute. I get it. And then afterwards she goes, oh, look at your armor. Like, that is very authentic. And he goes like, oh, thank you, kind of a thing. And he's like looking at her like, you're the most beautiful maiden I've ever laid eyes on. Looking at her with like giant hard eyes. And then she's like, Merry Christmas. And he's like, indeed. And you're like, ooh la la. Yeah, it's a Meetcute. It is a very cute Meetcute. At first, I mean, Vanessa Hudgens' attitude as this character, you're not entirely sure if she's like as into him as he's into her. But when her sister, who she runs into, is like, who is that steel-cut hottie? She's like, oh, I don't know. And then she goes like, Borrtex, like that. And you're like, oh, okay. So that brings us to chemistry. Soon afterwards, during this flurry of a snowstorm, Vanessa ends up hitting him with her car because she didn't see him. Not hard enough to actually like do some damage, but hard enough that she willingly believes that she has knocked the memories out of him and now has turned him into a man who actually thinks he's a knight. So she thinks it's her fault. The officer comes up and he's like, uh-oh, this guy's crazy. We should take him to the hospital. After going to the hospital, which he does get checked out to make sure he's okay and goes to MRI and all those things, he has nowhere to go. He's gonna crash at the police force, but he insists upon camping outside. And he's like, no, like, it's okay, like, he can stay at my house. And the officer's like, that doesn't seem like a really good idea for a single woman to have a guy come that she doesn't know might be crazy staying at her house. And she's like, it's fine, I have a guest house. And what he doesn't say but should say is, you're a high school teacher and you have a guest house? She shows him how to use Alexa, how to use the TV, all these things. kind of again fulfilling minor prophecies that the old crone had given him. And another thing is, I'm almost surprised that this isn't an Amazon Prime movie for how many times they mention Alexa. Like, it happens a lot. I'm like, have Amazon and Netflix, like, linked hands now? Like, are they linked swords? Are they buddies now? You know, they have a couple of cute moments before she leaves him for the night, and he ends up binge watching the entire time. This is definitely a Netflix movie. One thing I noticed on Twitter and around in general is people aren't that convinced by their chemistry overall, and I can understand that. I think it's very adorable, but it is more of like a flirtationship level vibe. Like, you kind of get the feeling they haven't entirely like connected yet. It's more like they're on their second day-ish vibe for most of the movie. So their kiss isn't like fireworks or anything, but it is sweet. And yeah, even though they spend a week together, it is a week. It is not that much time. But yeah, I still understand the vibe or the feelings of them not having the strongest chemistry. It's more clear from his perspective that he finds her attractive and fascinating. I think that she finds him fascinating too, but in kind of a, wow, this guy is this cute himbo who thinks he's a knight. Like, kind of hot. And that's about it. After the night of binge watching, he is now picked up on certain parts of the American accent and certain slang, which he'll use only when doing the American accent, to be like, I heard your slang, girlfriend. She'll be like, wow, I guess you're like really smart or something since you watched all that TV last night. But he convinces her to stay in and binge watch with him, and they get really cozy and fall asleep together. And then when they wake up after he's had a prophetic dream, she's like, okay, you know what, I need to actually get stuff done tomorrow. And the dream really inspired him to do that too. But from here out, they're pretty much joined at the hip and do a lot of things together. Crazy or not, she does find him attractive, and that does help their chemistry. So what would we say is the problem, the thing that keeps them apart? There isn't really a lot of antagonism in this movie, like, at all. Like, we know that they both, in their own way, have an ex. That isn't really a problem for most of it. I think in other movies, you would expect, once they've introduced the fact that Vanessa Hudgens has an ex-boyfriend, he would end up coming back and wanting to be with her or pose some sort of threat to their relationship in some way, or just be flat out evil and a douchebag or something. But instead, mostly they just kind of see him hanging out with his new girlfriend, who he apparently cheated on Vanessa with, and they're like, ouch, that's kind of awkward, and that's about it. Which is pretty realistic, I think, as far as these kinds of movies go. The most antagonistic role might be her neighbor, who's this ginger girl who was apparently voted biggest flirt in high school and who is flirting with Sir Cole, but by the end of the movie, she's even turned around. So really, the only thing that's keeping them apart, because the movie is really just them getting closer and closer and closer, is the fact knowing that he is there to fulfill a quest. He doesn't know what that quest is, although it involves his heart. You know, he needs to fulfill it before Christmas, and that after that, he's gonna go home. It's a temporary thing, so that's really the problem. And for her, is he a crazy guy, and is he gonna kill me with that sword someday? I don't know if she's really thinking that, but she probably should be thinking that. Ladies. Why does everyone let him keep that sword? He literally goes outside and cutely cuts up some of her Christmas decorations. He cuts down a tree. Like, he's proven that it's sharp and that it's a real sword. And people think he might be crazy. Not dangerous, but not in his right mind. And yet they let him navigate the town with a potential lethal weapon. Of course, he's a harmless, like, soft boy, whatever, but hello? At one point, Vanessa lends her car to Sir Cole, even though she's driven him around and he's acted like a person who has never seen or touched a car before. She just gives him her keys and is like, good luck, and then she stands outside and watches him try to figure out how to turn it on and turn on the windshield wipers by accident, And she's just like, I don't think you'll need those. And then he pulls out joltingly and then kind of like drives down the street like a maniac. And she's like, okay, bye. And then later she runs up to him after he's done whatever the heck he wanted to do and is like, I just found out that you left my car in the middle of the street without parking it correctly. Is everything okay? And it's like, how did you not see that he doesn't know how to drive? Why did you trust him with your car? I know he's cute, but come on, are you trying to kill him and everyone around him? Girl, no. There's a part where they are shopping for the Christmas feast, and Cole takes basically some of those rolls, like pre-made rolls, and he starts eating it and then spitting it out and then trying another one and spitting it out, and he's going around. And yes, I understand you're from another time period, Cole, but would you do that in the street market? Would you try bread and spit it out in the street market? Am I to believe this is just how knights try food? And then he's like, this is disgusting. I can make better bread. And you're like, oh, you cook? You're part of the GBBO? You're a great British baker? And he shows them how it's done. Anytime Vanessa's trying to do anything, like show him her white plastic Christmas tree, he's like, oh, no, we're gonna go out and get one. He just is like, listen, my lady, let me show you how it's done. So pining. How much do they earn? Of course, as these things tend to go, by the time they figured out that they love one another, as they do, basically the night before Christmas, and they kiss, his amulet lights up, and it means that finally, after all of these miniature quests he's done throughout his time there, he has solved his quest, and that means he can go home. So he goes home, and as soon as he's left, we get a night of Vanessa pining over the fact that now she knows that she's loved this man, who she kind of thought was crazy a little bit, although progressively has begun to believe in Christmas magic and all of those things. And whether or not you believe she actually believed it, 'cause you could kind of see it either way. He was a really cute, funny, kind man who had a good heart, even if he wasn't fully sane. And then he just disappears on her, and she's like, oh, crap. From his end, he gets to his castle, and he meets his brother again from the beginning, and he's like, I left my love behind. And his brother's like, go after that love. And he's like, you're right. See you later, bro. And he's like, bye, bro. And then he leaves, and he was there for like all of 5 seconds. I guess time's different over there. It might also have something to do with the fact that as we continue to learn of many of Sir Cole's gifts as a Renaissance man, that he bakes, and he bakes this Christmas bread that involves, if you find the bean, you get a Christmas wish. And Vanessa finds the bean, and the bean means that she can wish, and she wishes that he would come back. And yeah, so we do have a wise old lady and a wise old man. The wise old lady is obviously the old crone, the witch or whatever that he meets in the woods, who gives him these riddles and this amulet, and is like, this is what you need to do in order to be fulfilled as a knight, and sends him literally to the future, and then later back to the future. We see her kind of watching over him at different parts, and there are points where he thinks he sees her too, and often he does, but as soon as he'll reach onto her shoulder, she'll turn around and just be an old lady dressed like Mrs. Claus or something. But on the other hand, there's also the old man in the village who is dressed as Father Christmas, as Santa Claus, for the Christmas village there, and he gets to have a heart-to-heart with him as well. We're talking best friend, what we're really talking about is Vanessa Hudgens' sister, who for most of the movie I think is a single mom, and then about 2/3 the way in, you find out that her husband was away on a work trip, and I guess that was mentioned, hopefully, I didn't notice it, so I didn't know until towards the end. But she's not super quirky, but she's definitely meddling. And is like, so, when are you gonna get it on with him, huh? What you gonna do with that night, huh? What you gonna do? Then there's, for the kids factor, there's her daughter, who is an adorable little girl who loves Sir Cole, and who Sir Cole is able to teach how to fence and sword fight, and that they're able to see how this girl is generous and will share things with other kids, and that kind of helps them all learn a bit more about the spirit of Christmas and being more generous and doing kind things for others. Their parents have passed away a while ago, which is probably why Vanessa Hudgens has that house. They all have such nice houses. I don't know, man. I guess you could say that Officer Stevens is kind of a father figure for Vanessa. He is someone who actually will check in on her and kind of make sure that everything's going smoothly and that she's not been murdered by a crazy person who thinks he's a knight. But in my opinion, I also think Officer Stevens can get it, so meet in the middle. What is that sacrifice that they have to make for each other? The most obvious sacrifice is that Sir Cole gives up the life of a knight in order to be with her. And from her perspective, what she's giving up is like a lot of her assumptions about love and her kind of like the protective walls she's put up on her heart ever since that last relationship went poorly. Let's be real, she's not giving up nearly as much as he is in this case. She's not moving back to the medieval times. She's not losing all her rights in order to be with him in the medieval era, in the 14th century. Yeah. She could have if the movie wanted to go there, but it didn't. So that's better. Make better. Do they make each other better people? I would say so. Consistently, we have Sir Cole explaining to Vanessa, I'm sorry I haven't called her Brooke the whole time. Her name is Brooke. The knight wants to call her Lady Brooke for a lot of it. They finally get on first name terms. So Sir Cole, or Cole, is telling Brooke consistently that she should believe in herself and in the romantic things that she's given up on. Meanwhile, from the other perspective, Cole is able to learn some generosity, not only from Brooke, but also from her family. He's getting not only her, but this community that teaches him that really the quest that he's been doing throughout the movie, which include things like catching a thief when he tries to steal something, and finding a little girl, the little girl when she's gone missing, and, other, helpful, useful things. But what really matters, or to him, he assumes, or what he thinks what really could be a good quest, is doing kind things for other people, in order to be generous, in order to show them what Christmas could mean for them. And so when they find out about this one family that has been going through a hard time because they lost the mother in the family, they're able to do this thing where Vanessa Hudgens' character Brooke already has a benevolence type feast to raise money for the needy, and on top of that, Cole and her are able to gather some resources and to get some presents for that family so that they can have a good Christmas, and some money as well. It's super heartwarming and sweet, and as somebody who has been on the receiving end of that kind of community, someone whose church has actually given to my family when we've been going through a hard time, and has made sure that we've had a good Christmas on a few Christmases where we otherwise just wouldn't have financially been able to have had a good Christmas growing up. I found it really moving and sweet. Of course, it does end up being his main quest, but I think it's a very valuable thing, and also a reason why him staying behind and being with her makes sense. It's not just for her. He's actually begun to get stuck into this community in a way that is really meaningful and cool, and maybe cheesy. Who doesn't like cheesy sometimes? So that leads us to the satisfying ending. Is it satisfying? In my opinion, yes, it is. Our Renaissance man Cole is sure oh, I'm sure I can join the police force, or maybe open a bakery. And it's like, oh, Cole, you chestnut. He's totally down to figure out what his new life's purpose could be, because he's found where he wants to be. And yeah, you do kind of worry about him a bit, because you're like, this is going to be a difficult world for you. I hope you open a bakery, because yeah. But you know that he has this whole community that's going to back him up and already will vouch for him, which is really cool. And Vanessa has this encounter with this student that has been a consistent thing, where the student is heartbroken over this boyfriend who broke up with her, and then the boyfriend tries to get back with her, and then she proudly tells her teacher that she told him no, because true love doesn't exist. And you're like, oh boy. And she's like, I was wrong, true love does exist. The girl's like, oh crap. Yeah, and the girl hopefully is doing okay. It's like, teacher is going through something right now. She's having an emotional breakdown in front of me. What am I supposed to do about this? But that was before Sir Cole came back. And the other thing is, epilogue, we see Cole's brother, Jeffrey, about to go on his own hunt, just like at the beginning of the movie with Cole. And we see the old crone in the crowd, and she approaches him and is like, hey, like, and she's like, hey, I might have a mission for you. And he's like, oh, what kind of mission? And she's like, here's your amulet. And he's like, oh shit. It just leaves this door open for a sequel. And it means the brothers won't be separated forever. Hooray! Unless, of course, she sends him to, like, the 80s or another time when we really loved this sort of genre of movie. Anything's possible. They may never see each other again. I also really want to give props to the costume designer, because there are so many moments of, like, medieval-esque, like, clothes in modern times, which is just, yeah, it's just beautiful. I love it. Just seeing, like, Vanessa Hudgens' whole wardrobe and the clothes that he gets after he stops dressing like a knight all the time, like from her ex-boyfriend and her sister. Interesting. Where it's almost like a doublet, and the sweaters are, yeah, it's really nice. Kind of like he's Disney bounding being a knight, and she's Disney bounding being a lady. I really appreciate it. So this was my second video. If you have any sort of rom-coms you'd like me to cover, you can expect to see Last Christmas next. And I'm still not sure if I'm doing Falling in Love next or not, because we found out it's not a Christmas movie. So if you think I should cover Falling in Love anyway, let me know. Or if you've got anything else, let me know for that as well. You can follow me on Instagram, Tumblr, or Twitter, and, you know, like and subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. I hope I see you there at the Christmas feast. You wouldn't want to miss it for the world.